What's good, YouTube? If you know me, you know I like my Yu-Gi-Oh! Nice and competitive. So, you might be thinking, John, have you finally lost it? Supreme King Zark? Have you gone full weeb? What's happening? Well, you get to run this card for running one quote-unquote Garnet in White Wing Magician, which is also a tuner, so not the worst thing, and a low scale, which your deck is low on. But let's go ahead and talk about the deck and what it does versus True Draco Zoo and Zoo, two of the top decks of the format, and it does a lot. I'm about 50-50 versus these decks. I'll let you know, though, about half of my wins are from my opponent not knowing the full potential of this deck or what it does. So there is that. So if my opponents perfectly knew how to play Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'd only be winning 25% of the time. But being able to take 1 out of every 4 matches against True Draco Zoo and Zoo against perfect play, that's pretty nice. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Astrograph Sorcerer here is an amazing hand trap. If a card or cards you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then choose one monster in the graveyard, extra deck, or that is banished, and destroy this turn, and add one monster with the same name from your deck to the hand. So it has to be destroyed this turn. But let's say your Joker is in battle. You've done your turn, you're in the battle phase, and Joker's attacking Trident, forces the Trident to pop it. You get to special summon this, and grab a Joker to your hand. Let's say they go ahead and Ghost Ogre your Wisdom Eye, or even Wisdom Eye pops itself. Either way, you can special summon this and grab another copy of Wisdom Eye from your deck to the hand. And that puts a 2500 body on board. That's a Dark Spellcaster, and one of your biggest Dark Spellcasters, which we'll get into in a bit. But it's very important. Now, the second effect is what lets you summon Zark so easily in this deck. You can banish this card you control plus 4 monsters from your hand, field, and or graveyard. So graveyard being the most important because you get your resources in the grave and use this for free. 1 each with Pendulum Dragon, Xyz Dragon, Synchro Dragon, and Fusion Dragon in their names, and special summon 1 Supreme King Zark from your extra deck, and it's treated as a fusion summon. So this bad boy comes out. One of the most indestructible monsters in the game pops out, resourced from your graveyard and your field by banishing them alongside him, and your hand too, which you know, there's multiple ways to get extra magician monsters to your hand. But what are those names? Well, these 4 cards, Black Fang Magician, Double Iris Magician, White Wing Magician, which is what we play one of for the Zark, and Purple Poison Magician all count as those names we were just talking about. So being able to get these to the graveyard by overlaying it into other monsters helps you get there. And you can also pitch them to the grave with Pendulum Call for a free resource there as well. I've actually been able to pull Zark out turn 1 a couple of times, but it doesn't happen often. But turn 2 seems to be where it's at. Now, Black Fang Magician has some amazing effects. Once per turn, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. It attacks, becomes half its attack until the end of the turn, then destroy this card. So it destroys itself from the scale. That's its Pendulum scale effect. It's a high scale at scale 8, and a dark level 4 spellcaster. Its monster effect is amazing, and you get it when you pop it in scale, much like Plushfire used to get its effect when popped in scale, and it pops itself. So it's always treated as the Xyz Dragon card, so you can use it instead of having to have Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon or an Xyz Dragon by name, but there's other things you can use with Astrograph Sorcerer and a tight pinch besides this. Now, if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 Dark Spellcaster type monster in your graveyard and special summon it. That means if your Pendulum summon gets striked and strike destroys this card, it can bring itself back. Now, if it's Pendulum summoned with, say, the Harmonizing Magician, it can bring the Harmonizing Magician back, or any other Dark Spellcaster destroyed earlier in the duel. It's pretty amazing. Any Dark Spellcaster type monster. Who else is a Dark Spellcaster type monster? Hey, it's lit. Now we have Gofu. You might know why Gofu's here. He'll probably get hit in one of the next ban lists, but he's a 1-card Decode Talker alongside the Link Spiders. I'd love to replace these Link Spiders with our other transitional piece, Proxy Dragon, but we don't have him quite yet. We will in a couple of weeks. Double Iris Magician's a great toolbox for the deck. Its Pendulum effect is once per turn you can target 1 Dark Spellcaster type monster you control, apply this effect to it. Then destroy this card. Seem familiar? Once applied, double any battle damage your opponent inflicts to your opponent this turn if it battles a opponent's monster. So, you can apply it to any Dark Spellcaster, this being probably one of your biggest. You have other 2,400 Dark Spellcasters in your extra. It's really cool. And when it is popped, it resources a great 2 different cards from your deck. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add 1 Pendulum Graph card from your deck to your hand, and it's always treated as a Pendulum Dragon card. So you're able to resource either Star Pendulum Graph and Time Pendulum Graph from your deck. Now, I'm playing a lot of these, and I might even slim this one down to 2, but this is amazing, and we'll get into that after the monsters. Now, Harmonizing Magician is an amazing monster. If we come over here, all monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for each up Magician Pendulum monster with different names in the extra deck. That's its Pendulum effect. It actually matters once in a great while, but its main effect is that it cannot be special summoned from the extra deck, and it cannot be used as a material for Fusion Synchro or XC Summon unless the other materials are Magician Pendulum monsters. You'll start out trying to do plays with Joker. You can't do that. You have to resource any of your other basic monsters in deck that are 4s, which are all your Magicians besides your Jokers. So just remember, basically, this is a no-no with Joker. But you can overlay with it with your Magicians, you can Synchro, and so forth. When this card is Pendulum summoned from your hand, you can special summon 1 Magician monster from your deck in defense position except for Harmonizing, but it has its effect negated, and then you will also banish that monster when it leaves the field that this card's brought out. You can only use this effect once per turn, so careful what you're bringing out, although you can use Omega and put it back in the graveyard within your opponent's standby phase, but then you're risking getting Kaiju'd and so many other things. I also like that this play will clear your extra monster zone for you to continue if you didn't already get out a Decode Talker. Luster Pendulum the Draco Slayer is in here mainly because you're able to resource it out with Ignister, but also because I play the 1-of Duelist Alliance, and sometimes you end up searching other cards besides Pendulum Call when you already had Pendulum Call. It's one of those cards that you can grab. It's a powerful tuner. Ignister can bring it out and get a free extra pop. It's another way to get to Ignister, and we do actually play the Magister in this deck. 1 Oath Dragon, an amazing low scale, especially with Pendulum Call. After you Synchro Summon using Harmonizing, you get it back to hand, and of course there's plenty of other options that'll put themselves in there in the deck, being almost any scale that can just pop itself. Skull Crobat Joker is still Joker, resources any of your Magician Pendulum monsters from your deck to your hand. That's basically what it does in this deck. Of course, he does so much more. But remember, he's a bad scale to play sometimes. We've got 3 Purple Poison Magician, perhaps the best disruption of the deck. Now, its monster effect is once per turn, if your Dark Spellcaster type monster battles before damage calculation, you can activate this effect. So this is in damage step. The monster that gains 1200 attack until the end of the damage step, then destroy this card. Pretty awesome stuff for getting over Masterpiece. It really helps with our Masterpiece problem. And when Pendulum Call's active, you can still activate the effect despite it not being able to destroy itself. That applies with all of them. Now, it's Disruption effect that we were speaking of. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 face-up card on the field and destroy it. Oh, it's good. And then White Wing Magician, its scale effect does come into play once in a while. Once per turn, when an activated card or effect resolves, the target's a Dark Spellcaster type monster you control, negate that effect and destroy that card. Not as relevant as the rest of the deck. Like I said, it's your most Garnet-like card almost in the deck. 3 Wisdom Eye, of course, gets you to pretty much any scale you would want. And I play Chaos Sorcerer, actually, because he is searchable in this deck. What searches him? Well, that's Time Star in the extra deck. Time Star must be XC summoned with 2 Magician Pendulum monsters. You can detach the material and add any Dark Spellcaster monster from your deck, graveyard, or face up from your extra deck. Now, this is very good for removing Trick Stars when you know they have Trick Star Reincarnation in the graveyard. Typically, they only have 1 out, and it helps you bust through that board. But it's also very good for removing, say, Dynamite Knuckler, aka Dynamite Knight, and the other true Dracos, so that True King's Return can't be bringing them back. Now, Duelist Alliance, you add any Pendulum Monster, Pendulum Spell, or Trap card from the deck to your hand. Basically, it resources extra pieces for you, including the Pendulum Graphs. We've timed out. I had this open already. I've redone this deck profile so many times. You don't understand. We've got 3 Pendulum calls. You discard any card, add 2 Magician Pendulum monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. Also, they cannot be destroyed by card effects in that time. So Wisdom Eye can't pop itself, but it's very important with Time Pendulum Graph here, because your opponent cannot target spellcaster type monsters you control with trap cards or effects, but also, and so that includes the True Draco traps, by the way, you can only use this effect once per turn, the following effect once per turn. You can target 1 Magician Pendulum card and 1 card your opponent controls, and this can be in the Monster Zone or Pendulum Zone. Destroy them. Then, if the effect did not destroy 2 cards, you can send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. So basically, if they're invincible because of Pendulum Call, you not only don't lose the extra resource, but you still take care of 2 of their cards, and 1 of them is sent, not destroyed. Isn't that pretty awesome? And it does not target with that second effect. You can send 1 card from the field to the graveyard. Very nice. This card, whenever any of your Magician Pendulum monsters are destroyed or leave the field, basically, if a face-up Magician Pendulum monster card leaves your Monster Zone or Pendulum Zone, period, add 1 Magician Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. That includes Synchro Summoning, so there's some pretty awesome ways, even under Pendulum Call, to get this to activate and get you extra free resources. And we play Avian for the negation factor. It wins us a lot of games when we draw. The side deck has the Kaiju engine. We don't play the 9 because we don't want to give any dinosaur deck or access to VFD, any deck that would play True King of all Calamities. We don't want to give that to them. We do side the Max C for when we know we're going second, and sometimes we keep it in going first against Zoo. We have 3 Cosmic Cyclones for helping take care of True Draco spell and traps. We also side this in when we know we're going first against True Dracos. We hit so many Tinkies against Zoo, so many diagrams, so many good cards to hit. And this is great against Zoo sometimes. A more Fade Sloth. Remember him? Pretty nice tech. And the extra is our indomitable Moss Monster, Supreme King Zark. Basically, he has an amazing monster effect. Once he's fusion summoned, if this card special summon, destroy all cards your opponent controls. All of them. Cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. That's pretty nice. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also very nice. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon 1 Supreme King Dragon monster from your extra deck. If this card is in the Monster Zone is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can place this card in your Pendulum Zone. It's all pretty darn nice, but remember that non-targeting send effect? Ooh, the mirror match. Then we get into Double the Code Talker, which we talked about with the Link Spiders. We do just play the 1 extra in case of Litho, but also because there are times when we end up overlaying into this to get our Astrograph, we end up using the Code Talker and then continuing our turn in order to get to Zark and using it to clear the extra Monster Zone for us in a sense. This card I cannot emphasize enough. If this card is, it's a generic level 8, but if this card is synchro using Magician Pendulum Monster as a material in any way, shape, or form. So you just need to synchro with, you can even use White Wing with Crobat Joker in order to do this. You get to target any spell card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. But its second effect is so cool with all the battle tricks in here. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. So imagine loading this up, being able to do double damage, and then forcing them into half of their attack. That happens a lot. And then you do that monster's original attack to their life points on top of it all. That's almost game all the time. Ignister's amazing. Omega's amazing. Magister, it's basically for when we end up stuck with Joker and something else out early on in our worst hands, such as Wisdom Eye, and we're able to resource out this for a protective kind of state. Time Star, again, very good, and it has a second effect of whenever any of your, once per turn, if a Pendulum monster card in your Monster or Pendulum Zone would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can send a Spellcaster type monster from your deck to the graveyard instead. Also has tricks with the Time Pendulum Graph to get that non-targeting send that you so often will need, but also protect your scales or even your monsters. We've got Diamond Direwolf. I play Overcastle just so I can clear my extra Monster Zone because I'm a big weeb and I like summoning Zark. We've got Tornado Dragon because it's great disruption that's offered up when you know you might need to go further and take care of, say, a Zodiac Barrage or a Diagram, and you feel this is the one extra step you need. There's sometimes when I get the Kotaker out, I make one of these, I have 2 monsters left over, I can make this as well. Supreme King Dragon Clearwing is very good. 1 tuner plus 1 non-tuner Dark Pendulum monster. That's a lot of your guys. So, that's even your Skull Crobat Joker as the non-tuner Dark Pendulum monster alongside your quote-unquote Garnet. Its effect's pretty good. It starts out, if this card is synchro summoned, you can destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls. Once per turn, before damage calc, if it battles an opponent's monsters, you can destroy that monster. If you do, inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. Some more damage tricks. It's pretty nice. But it's also pretty clear to note, Supreme King Dragon Clearwing is potentially able to be brought out by Supreme King Zark if you somehow had the code Talker. Although he is also, you know, I wish he was a Synchro Dragon. You could run Clearwing or something instead of him to make it a material for Zark. As you see, you need the different materials through Astrograph. I believe he actually does not meet the demands. I think you need a Synchro Dragon. Yes, you do need a Synchro Dragon. So he actually does not meet those material requirements. But we do play the regular Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, which does meet the requirements and is another way to get through Masterpiece. Have you force them to tribute a trap and a spell. It's just nice to have extra deck answers just in case. So there you have it. And of course, the Kotaker can get over him too at times with just your own field and not relying on your opponents. But there you have it. This is my long and winded take on the Zark Pendulum Magician's in-depth profile here. I've been loving this deck. I've been playing the crap out of it. It's under $100, I think, even with my side deck. This is like $15 now. Gamma Steel's your most expensive kaiju. You realistically could replace it with something. And Maxi's been down. It's a common. These are getting reprinted commons. Even the Megaton version should be way down. This deck is very cheap. I believe it's around $100. This is $6 now. Like, it's crazy cheap. This is 10. Like, your most expensive part is the side and extra. Your main deck, the Avians are like 12, and then the rest of it is under $40. So overall, it's around $100 or cheaper. I've been loving this deck. I've been loving getting to Zark Zoo players and True Draco players, but most of all, I've been loving to play competitive games against them where I really enjoyed it. Like I say, some of my ratios are high. You can change them yourselves. I really value having 3 of the traps. I really like opening with it. Maybe I should play more Duelist Alliance, but I like having that searchable Chaos Sorcerer for the foreseeable future of facing True Draco and Trick Stars from now. Let me know what you guys think. There's a lot of ratios I know that you guys can tweak, but overall, let me know what you think about Pendulum Magicians. I've just been enjoying the ever-loving stuff out of them. We'll put it that way. Thanks for watching, guys.